we go. Okay, and we're live. Hey guys, what's up? This is the interview with @Mighty Martae. It's going to be a good one. Believe it or not, this is my first face cam live interview. So we're going to get right into it. Waiting for Mighty Martae. I just sent him the request. Let me make sure I'm actually. I hope we can join. Let me send him a message him real quick. But it's going to be a good one, guys. Can't wait. Oh, there we go. Okay, he should be joining in shortly. Okay, he will be on in 5. So right now we're just gonna be going over the basics. Give me 1 second, as I am my only moderator right now. So let me see. So I'll be on at 5. Okay, he's getting everything pulled up. He's getting everything settled. So like I said, just bear with us for a moment. But I've been excited for this interview. I've been getting into interviews, and I want to do more with the face cam and face structure. So it's going to be great. I'm not going to lie, I'm acting like a retard right now. I'm excited, dude. What can I say? It's my first face cam interview. I've been waiting on this for a while with big preparations. So I guess like to go over a little bit, I wouldn't say I barely interacted with Martae. I've had like one conversation with him over a live space, and we've interacted in DMs a little bit. I've heard of Martae because there's a lot of controversy surrounding him at the moment, along with different groups. People have different opinions about him. Some people have pulled up his past. Some people say, hey, he's a cool dude. So can't wait to see his opinion in this. And this is going to be a one-on-one, no interruptions. It's only going to be me and Martae discussing his side of the story. And like I said, can't wait to see that. There is a space. Let me see. I'm going to start the space. And I hope there's not like really bad audio. Oh, shit. Okay, hold on. Okay, so like I said, I am. Oh, shit. I don't. Am I able to swear on stream? I don't know if I'm able to swear on stream or not. Hold on. Let me. Wait, is my mic mute? Unmute. Oh no, have I been muted this whole time? Let me see. I need let me see. Mike. Oh, okay, my bad. Because there's 2 going at the moment. I'm actually gonna cut the space off. Let me see. Mike Antonio. If you can, bro, join the live stream. Don't do the space because it's crossing over with the live stream, as I said. I don't know if you can have both of them at the same time though. If you can, holy shit, dude, that's a game changer. So let me see. I'm gonna end the space to see if I can do the Actually, if anybody who's watching, who follows me on X, if one of my friends, one of the Brotherhood members, please tell me if both of them are active or if only one of them is active. Because I'm doing a live stream and I have the X space on my laptop and I'm doing the live stream from my phone. So I'm trying to see how this works out. I'm also trying to get a good angle. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, my bad for the ugly background, guys. Like I said, first time. Pull up the group chat for a second. Let me see messages. Who's like the most active group chat right now? I wish I could pull it. Wait. Oh, both are active. Okay, let's go. Nice. We got a message from Tired. She's a very special one in multiple ways. Okay, so both are active, so that's great. I'm actually going to leave the space running along with the live stream if it doesn't mess anything up. I also don't know if I can swear on live stream, but we're just waiting on Martae right now to come in. Also, Tired, if you're still listening, is everything good to go? Does the background look decent? Is the lighting too much? Is there too much glare? Is audio quality good? Because I'm not a streamer, believe it or not. I'm a space host that's trying to move into the world of streaming. We got 16 views right now. I'm happy to see that. And I'm waiting on everyone to go or to come in, whatever. Let me see. Still waiting on Martae. We got oh no. Okay, Mike Antonio still here in the interview. Okay. So far, from what I'm hearing, is I'm all good. I'm glad for that. Dude, I'm really liking this live stream. Fuck. Uh, okay, as I said, it's been about, let me see, we're going on 7 minutes. Martae should be here any moment. He's fashionably late, as usual. Um, yeah, I'm going to be autistically going back and forth from the laptop to the phone, making sure everything is set on the space and also everything is set on the phone. Also, while trying to manage my battery, like it's Five Nights at Freddy's. Yes, I'm Gen Z. Okay, so let me see. Still checking through everything, making sure everything is good to go. There's multiple things you have to keep track of while you are doing your best to not crash out. Okay, space is still good to go. We got the most listeners here. Let's see, Martae. I want to make sure everything's good to go. Martae, can you hear me? Hold on, give me a second. I wonder how you can do multi-plat. Like, I'm trying to lay out. Okay, 2 people. There we go. Wait, what? Invite guests, layout. Okay. Do I have to solo layout? I'm on multi-layout. Hold on. Martae, can you hear me? Okay, my headphones are here. It's connected. It's all set. Let's see, we got the spaces. Like Antonio's there. I just seen Martae pop up. Live. ValeDelgado. I apologize, guys, for the for what's going on right now. Let me see. Cropped layout, grouped layout. Okay. Do I have to like turn it? Is that what's gonna happen? Is that how? No, that's not how it works. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I was being a full-on retard. What's up, Martae?
Hey, what's going on, man? Testing.
Pretty good. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, bro.
I mean, it's your first stream. We're breaking this in, so you're getting your tech issues out of the way, so we can actually have something. So that way, moving forward, like you perfected this, or more so, help to eliminate these issues.
Definitely, yeah. It's the first time on my face, like being on a face cam. I've done hundreds of spaces before, so I've experienced there and talking. Only thing, like I said, first time on the space cam. But I'm also really excited for this interview. I hope you are as well.
Yeah. I always look forward to creating content. I love creating content, but more often than not, I look forward to. I mean, if I can change minds and hearts at the same time, I mean that's an added benefit. But I do love doing this because it's something I'm passionate about, and I love entertaining as well. So yeah,
How's it going, man? Dude, I'm doing great, bro. I've been excited for this for a while. I think it's going on 2 weeks, and I've had this planned out. I was like, hell yeah, we're gonna have Martae on the interview. I've been getting the questions ready, making sure everything is settled. And I know that there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this interview and you, which I'm happy to get into later on in the interview. But how are you doing? How's it been today?
I'm good, man. I just got back from school. That's why I had to reschedule it, because as soon as you told me the time, I was like, okay, well, Mountain Standard Time. I just thought this. And then that's why I sent you. I was like, oh, I'm still in class. But anyways, I'm back at a class and I'm here. But here's the thing, though. I will preface this and tell you that nothing's off limits. You can ask me anything. The good thing about this is we leave a digital thumbprint or fingerprint online when we do things like this. So that way, if I say something that's a fallacy or not even true, people can go back and say, well, you said this. I like being held to account for the things that I say. So that way, later on in the future, people can say, oh, yeah, he's very consistent on what he says. He's also very firm and grounded on he says. And I mean, I like listening to Martae, because I learn maybe something new or so that's always good.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's like the best way that we grow in ourselves. It's like, okay, we have record of what we said. Our opinions can change over time. And I like having that mindset. I like how you just described it, because you're not locked into, oh, I believe this forever. It's like you're actually learning, you're actually growing, and you want to make sure you leave that footprint for other people to like, oh, okay, like they learn too. So we're going to get into it because I'm curious. So basically, the question is going to start off with like, who are you? What brought you to X? And what should people expect from your account? Because you go by many names, you go by a long backstory. So I'm curious to hear how you are going to sum it up for everyone.
I got many names. So part of my real name, I'm not going to like divulge it unless you check into it. My family called me Nico growing up. So if you really want to know my real name, it's Nico. It's not Martae. I go by Martae. I've been by Martae since I was like 13 or 14 years old. I grew up on the streets. I was homeless. And the reason why I'm Nico is because my real name is like super califragilistic long. Like it's super long. Andrew Wilson knows my real name. It's easy to find anyways, but I just don't go by it because on my birth certificate, it's spelled wrong. It's a typo. And I never really liked it. Teachers couldn't really get it right. And they always screwed it up. But anyways, my family called me Nico growing up, but I ran away, became homeless. And a coach saw my real name and he was like, I'm not screaming this out across the track. I'm just going to call you Martae. And ever since Martae happened, I was like, oh, that sounds way better than my real name. So I went by this. So just to let you know, this is something maybe nobody else knew. But my name isn't even Martae. It is hypothetically, it's something I've gone by all my life. But if you look in like my government name, things like this, it's not even close to my real name. But here's the other thing too, is I was called Mighty Mouse. Lonnie Teeper was one of the editors of Iron Man magazine. He called me this because he almost ran into me backstage and he said, well, you're no bigger than a mouse. This is when I first started bodybuilding. I wasn't even that big yet. And it was great insult to me. Like, who wants to be called a mouse? That's like prey. You're not a predator. I was really insulted by this because I wanted to be in bodybuilding to become bigger. But this guy's called me a mouse. And he was like, oh, well, like Mighty Mouse. That's what I mean. He tried to sweep it under the rug. And yeah. I'm like, whatever, bro. So people heard backstage and they started teasing me. And it just stuck because they kept calling me Mighty Mouse. And I didn't even like this name. It's a name that I despised. I didn't like it because the first time I knew what he meant, it was a mouse, not a Mighty Mouse, and try to fix it. But that stuck. And as a pro, that's why they started calling me Mighty Mouse. And I just accepted it. So the other thing, too, is I had a previous actor name in a certain industry. So that's a name I went by. But that's because I didn't want to use who uses their real names in that industry anyway. So, yeah. Exactly. So now you have several names in their origin. So, yeah.
So I'm actually going to, I guess I can scratch off question 4, because I was actually going to ask you about the Mighty Mouse name, and if you did like look upon that fondly, or if it was something that it's like, oh yeah, and you say like smaller than a mouse, like tiny but mighty. We already know you despise it, so.
I hated it because it is something I've adopted. And then there's people online who roast me and they talk a lot of trash. They're like, well, Demetrius Johnson I had this before I even knew who Demetrius was, this UFC fighter. And that was given to me. It wasn't like, you have these people that give themselves names. No, this was a name that was given to me that I didn't even want. I hated the mouse. I picked something else other than a mouse. But it was called. I was called this so many times that magazines and publications started calling me this, and I was like, "Screw it! I might as well own up to this and just own it." And ever since then, I've been Mighty Mouse. So yeah.
Gotcha. That's wild, dude. Wild story for that. So I've noticed, or I've taken notice that you've mentioned that you were in the foster care system. What was your childhood like? And you said you also mentioned you ran away. So I'm curious about that. Like, what events led up to that? Because it would take a lot. And I am curious to hear about your past leading up to, current times. So the second question would be like, what was your childhood like and your experiences in foster care or in the foster system? And what experiences have you learned that stuck with you to today? And any lessons that you can pass on to future generations, whether that be like kids that look up to you or anyone who sees this interview who is on like the younger side, or anyone who's even in the foster system. What would you say?
Well, you're actually being charitable. How would you pronounce your name, by the way? Let's get this out of the way first real quick.
Oh, bro, it's ValeDelgado. Just call me
Val. Okay, yeah. Great. I've never heard this name before. Well, for a guy, and I'm not no shade to you, but I will say this though. You're being very charitable when you say foster care system, because a lot of kids who run away from homes They go to shelters and group homes like I went. You could only dream of going to a foster home. I was never adopted. A lot of kids never got adopted. And so I'm just going to be very transparent and blatant, like why I ran away. We had a stepdad that used to come home, and when he got drunk, he liked to touch kids, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people can maybe relate to some of this who's grown up with an alcoholic stepdad. By the way, statistically, stepdads have like higher indicators of like domestic violence, things like this. So when you look at single moms, domestic violence goes up because this father is not in blood relation to the kids. So there's like this detachment, higher rates of violence, things like this. And even SA happens in those homes. I can say that I wasn't, no penetration happened with me or anything else. I mean, like I said, I'm being absolutely transparent here. None of that happened, but there were like attempts, meaning like started rubbing my legs, and then I shifted in my sleep, and then I acted like I was asleep, but shifted, but he was like startled and walked away. So I created like subtle deterrence, whereas my siblings were all the way asleep. And I didn't know what happened to them when I was gone from the home, at school, anything else like this. But it was like there was nothing specifically done to me, but it was like you could tell that it was happening and he was getting more bold. Yeah. I ran away. I was like, screw this. I'm not going to be like waking up and in the middle of like SA or any. I ran away before it got to that point because I knew well enough that this was going to happen. It was inevitable. He's going to come home, get drunk, because I got the crap beat out of me every night. There was like a speck on a dish. It wasn't cleaned right. Something happened. I was like, mind you, I was like 13, 11 during this time. I got the crap beat out of me. My mom was getting beat. All this was happening, and I couldn't do anything. I was like this skinny, scrawny boy. I was so skinny that you could probably see my ribs through my shirt. If I ate a hot dog, you could probably see it go down my throat. Like I was really like one of those Somalian commercials growing up. So here was the thing. I grew up experiencing all this around drugs, gang violence, everything else. And I just ran. I split. Living on the streets. I slept on the streets. I stole food from stores. That's how I ate on the streets. And I hid and I slept wherever I could. Pretty soon I got caught because the police didn't buy my line of like, oh, my parents aren't home. They put me in the system. And after I got put in the system, I got put in shelters. Once I was in shelters, I got put in a group home. And the group home where I was at, a lot of kids, there's something I'm going to tell you that's pretty controversial during this time too. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever said this during a video interview. I've said this in a magazine interview from an Italian publication that did an interview with me. It's in a different language. I don't know if it's out, but but I'm pretty sure nobody knows about this. But when I was in the shelters, I got transferred to a group home, and a lot of people in group homes and kids get transferred from juvenile detention. Now, the reason why I'm going to make this distinction and tell you it's no different than me is because I was in juvenile detention. It's not the first time I ran away from home or was taken from home. There was one time I was home with my brothers. I have a brother named Tyrone, and brothers, stepbrothers. One brother that's like my blood brother. His name's Jamie. I was home and I witnessed my mom, who's deaf. I had like a deaf parent, so English was my second language and sign language was my first. And she used to put a bottle on a pillow, right? And then just angle it a certain way to where she was like, okay, I'm not going to touch it, and then walk off and do dishes or whatever it is. Because the bottle held the pillow, right? And it's like the baby was getting fed by I saw this so many times, and kids often learn to babysit their siblings like this, or they copy things, right? So I was at home, and there were caseworkers because there was alleged accusations of SA that were happening in the home. So we had caseworkers visiting all the time. This was before I ran away. And because this is how it was leading up to it. So what had happened was I was home. A caseworker was up the stairs because we lived in Section 8 housing in a townhome. And I put the bottle on the pillow like my mom did. I did this many times. And I put the pillow in front of Tyrone's face and put the bottle right on top of it. The caseworker's looking behind me, and all they see is me putting a pillow in front of my little brother's face, who's like an infant. What does this look like?
It doesn't look good at all. I know where this is going.
It looks like I'm trying to smother an infant, right?
Yeah.
So the next day I get off of school and I'm anxious to run home because the only meals I get are rare sometimes because we get a food box every month. And this guy comes home, this guy meets me in a suit and a tie and said, "Are you such and such Rayless?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say," he started reading me my Miranda rights. I got thrown in the back of a police car. And in the back of this police car, I got put, taken downtown. And I'm stressed because I'm hungry because I look forward to like one meal. I ate so much and we didn't have food at home. So my mom learned to put 2 chains over the fridge and locks because I learned how to get past the first lock. We were that poor. So I was like, I'm starving. And the only reason why I look forward to going to school is because of the free lunches we got. So I was like, oh crap, my stomach's grumbling and I'm there and I'm in some interrogation room. And this guy sits down, puts a folder down, starts this recorder and starts this random conversation. "Hey, how's school going? How's your day going?" I was like, let's just get to it, man. It's like, I already know.
Yeah.
And he's like, he starts telling me, "Did you try to smother and kill your little brother?" And I said, "No, I didn't." So we start talking and he says, "Did you?" I'm not buying it. I need to know the truth. He tells me this like 20 different times. Not only am I starving, but I need to go pee. And I said, "I need to go pee." He says, "Well, you're just telling me stuff. You're going to continue lying to me. You already lied and said you needed to go pee because if you did, you would have peed on yourself." So he's using
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
and telling me this. And he's like, "I can hear your stomach grumbling. You want to eat, don't you? Why don't you be honest with me?" So then I break and I say, "If I tell you I did it, even though it's not true, will you let me out of here?" He stops the tape recorder and says, "You know what? I think we should just get you fed." And I'm just thinking as a kid with nobody else representing me in the room, I'm a minor. He leads me from one person's hands to another person's hands. I go in a van. Next thing you know, I'm like lifting him up, spreading my chin. And next thing you know, I'm wearing an orange jumpsuit. Next thing you know, I'm spending about under a year for attempted murder as a minor.
Oh,
in juvie. So I'm in there for attempted murder with all these kids. And I'm like, what the hell am I in here for? I love my brother. I would never kill this guy.
yeah.
But I was hungry and I actually like peed on myself trying to hold it in. And then he said, "Oh, you're just doing this for attention. You didn't have to do that." And just all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I have no representation with me. So being in there for about 8 months for attempted murder, mind you, at 13, I'm just in there just doing things. And I'm minding my business, doing everything I'm supposed to do. My dad visits me, never visited me in my whole life, sees me one time and gives me some little pep talk and just bounces. I get out of there in court and they're telling me, "Hey, do you want, are you going to confess to attempted murder or are we going to let you leave? And are you going to fight this case?" And the public defender's telling me, "Why don't you just admit to it?" This and that. And he's telling me, and I said, "I didn't try to kill anybody. All I did was prop a pillow up and a bottle on top of a pillow and feed my brother. What are you talking about?" And I'm sitting there crying in court, and the judge is like, "Do you want me to play this tape of your admission in court?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to play." Because, I was a kid. All I'm thinking about is like embarrassment because I'm sounding like a bitch on the recorder. And so she goes back to the judge's chambers and plays this. So then I go in there and I'm in there for 2 more months, right? I'm in there for 10 months. Next thing you know, they let me out, and my grandma's visited me several times. They let me out and they're like, "Well, we're just going to let you go because the case fell through. Nothing's going to stick." And I'm like, "What? What happened?" Well, they stopped the tape recorder in the middle of this and then started it back up. They can't do that. Yeah. And then the next thing, was they were saying, "Well, you were a minor and you had no representation in there with you." And then not to mention this, but the claims of attempted murder are really faulty because they didn't do anything. They left. If it was attempted murder, they would have stuck around and then it would have just happened expeditiously. They would have taken you, arrested you, but they waited a whole day. It was just this whole thing that happened. And I got put into a group home after that, after I was in shelters. So that's another thing. And then once I was in there, I found out that my record had gotten expunged. This was removed off of my record. So I was accused of attempted murder. That got taken away, got put in the system in group homes. And next thing you know, I'm in the group homes fighting the whole time. I'm fighting every chance I get because, everybody's coming from juvie. All they want to do is fight. They come from single parent homes. So then I thought, I'm just going to do sports, because when I'm in sports and I stay long afterwards, by the time I get home after practice, all the other kids are asleep. And I just skipped the fight period of time when I could have been home at the group home. So I went and did sports just to stop fighting every single day, because I either gave black eyes or got black eyes growing up. So all I did was fight in group homes. And then as soon as I went to started running track, I became really decent at this, went to junior college and ran track and started doing well. And then after that, I got into law enforcement, believe it or not. I didn't think that this would happen because I had this expunged record. Lo and behold, I passed the polygraph test, my history, my criminal history, everything. You know, I passed all that, got into law enforcement. I'm not going to dive too much into that, just really brief, but did that for about 11 years. And, you know, been in, I would say, agencies adjacent to that, well, within law enforcement, give or take. But yeah, that's just a brief summary. So, and then I got involved in the recent scandal, which came out. It was like, so we can get into all that too. But just to give you like the meat of my growing up was, I was in juvenile hall for attempted murder. I was a runaway, and I grew up, I wouldn't say extreme poverty, because Section 8 isn't extreme, but it's like adjacent. But there you go. Yeah. That first initial have.
Martae, that's wild. Like that's a wild beginning. I was not expecting that. That's well, I'm glad you made it out of that. As we can see now, I mean, you've come a very, very long way from like humble beginnings. Which actually leads me into the next question, which is like, what got you interested in bodybuilding? Because you said that you were in sports after that, so you could like skip fighting. So like during that transition period of you like wanting to be more involved in sports, did you like fall in love with bodybuilding? Was it something that you wanted to take more serious and like improve from there?
I actually didn't want to do bodybuilding. There's a lot of stuff I didn't want to do that I just got kind of roped into because I just found out I was good at it. And when I say I was good at this, meaning like I went to the gym and there was this woman named Lauren who obviously took a lot of enhancing things to make her beard grow, her voice deepen, and she had a lot of acne. She came to the gym, and I used to be a show off because I thought I was the man with abs because I ran track in college. And I used to train late at night with no shirt on and look at myself in the mirror. And men's health was like the epitome of like bodybuilding to me at the time. She walks up to me and she said, "You have a nice set of abs. You should do that competition that's on the wall." And I said, "What do you mean?" She was like, "The bodybuilding competition. You should try that." And I said, "Nah, that's gay." Automatically, I said, "That's gay. I'm not doing that." There's no way I'm doing that. Yeah. And then she said, "Are you calling Arnold Schwarzenegger gay?" And I was like, "Arnold Schwarzenegger's not gay." She's like, "He did bodybuilding." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." She was like, he was Conan, he was the Terminator, all these other things. I was like, yeah. She was like, "There's no way you can call that gay." So, I mean, think about it. You're on stage, you're not naked, you're just displaying your hard work. You show up in this gym and show your abs off every night. What's the difference? So I said, "Okay, whatever." I said, "I'm not going to do that. Leave me alone." Right? She kept bugging me and bothering me. So I switched my gym times up. I switched the times I went to the gym up, and she was there. It was like she had a tracker on me. My training partner was like, "Bro, I don't know how she knows we're in here every time or where she lives, but she just shows up. She just spawns automatically whenever you're in here." In 4 months of this, of like the harassment, it felt like harassment because she was in my face telling me I need to compete. And I have this really masculine looking person in front of me telling me this with really bad breath. You know, and I'm like, "You know what? Fine. I'll do the show if you get out of my face and I never see you again because I can't train by myself anymore. Will you just leave me alone?" She said, "Yes, I'll never bother you again if you do that show." So I said, "Fine." So I bought the Arnold Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding and did the little measly diet that's on there with the banana or whatever. And I trained for the show for like maybe about a month before. Got on stage and I won my first show. I just won my first show. And I just did this to shut this woman up and get her out of my face so she'd stop pestering me. And the crazy part, Val, is when I went to the gym, which was Pure Fitness after that at the time. I don't know if they still have this gym available, but I went there and I wanted to thank this woman. I saw her in the audience that night. There was like 500 people. And I was looking for her because I wanted to congratulate her and say, "Thanks for telling me to do this. I won. It was a great experience. I went to the front desk and who talked to her all the time. And you know what they told me? Who are you talking about? So then I said, what? So then I saw two people that were talking to her sometimes. They said the same thing. We don't know what you're talking about. Then I was like, I know I'm not going crazy. Then I went to my training partner and I said, these people don't know who Lauren is. And he was like, they don't? They were just talking to her last week and the front desk had a hassle with her last week. I said, no, seriously. So Mac, my training partner, went up and said, hey, you don't know that lady Lauren? They were like, we don't know what you're talking about, man. so it was like she didn't even do this. It's the weirdest thing. So that's how I started bodybuilding, because of this person kept bugging me and I wanted them out of my face. And it turns out I wasn't going crazy because my training partner knew who this was. I know I'm not that out of my mind, but yeah, that's how I started.
Oh, okay, so hold on, because this caught me off guard. So she completely vanishes out of thin air. When you continue to work at or work out at the gym, did she come back at all? Was she there at all ever again?
It was like she never existed. I asked people about her and they were like, we don't know who you're talking about. Like, I literally described her. I said, she has like a beard growing in, deep voice. You can't miss her. Yeah, we have a lot of people come in, don't know who you're talking about. And I was like, I know I'm not going insane. So yeah.
Holy shit. Absolutely wild, dude. Interesting. Okay. Because I don't know much about like the IBF, what is it? The IFBB pro setting, right? Like, I don't know much about the competitions. I don't know how the structure goes. But I am curious of like, so what titles did you hold besides that? Like, what I guess how many competitions have you won in your career?
I haven't, to be honest, I haven't won one as a pro. I've competed as a pro, but as an amateur, I was undefeated for 6 years, 3 different weight classes. I won the California as a lightweight, which I don't know, like, I don't know anybody who could do. There was a guy back in the day named Al Escobar who was able to do this. They called him like the giant killer. And I like looked up to this guy when I started growing up into bodybuilding. Well, when I was starting out, and I did this, I was literally destroying people and I wasn't taking any drugs. I wasn't on any steroids or anything at the time. I was literally destroying people. I was in the department, or in my law enforcement department, and they used to make me take these TB shots. You know, those little needles that are really tiny? They made me take those every year, and I kept getting written up every single year. Why, you ask? Because I'd pass out every time they give me this little tiny TB shot, and I had such a great fear of needles that I didn't touch drugs forever, right? So all I knew was hard work and eating a lot of food and just doing the damn work. That's all I did. And when people say, well, no, there's no way you could have won all those years and been undefeated and won the overall and did all this. No, I trained my ass off every single night. It was literally my midnight dream to win every single chance I got, because I feel like if somebody beat me, they're robbing me of all that time I got and all the hard work. It was literally to me like a robbery in broad daylight if I lost on stage, and I didn't want to lose. And I still have that same passion in me when I do debates. I don't like to lose at all. I loathe losing. So I've taken this passion with everything that I do, and it transfers over. But back to bodybuilding, the IFBB is the International Federation of Bodybuilding, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was the person who was a great catalyst of this with Joe and Ben Weider. But it started off and it became like a kind of like I would say a hobby, kind of like adjacent to sports. We could argue that it's not a sport, but I mean, I won several bodybuilding shows as an amateur before. I was so dominant in bodybuilding that I used to show up to weigh-ins and people used to just pull out. They'd pull out and I'd be like, how come there's only 2 people showing up to the show when I'd see like 18 people at weigh-ins? It was packed. Well, because they duck out because they knew I was going to compete. So this was like a bad thing that cut both ways. For one, I'd win, but they'd say you only won because of 2 people. But then it's like, well, I want to compete against people, but they keep running from me. And this was like the mainstay of like a large part of my amateur career. So. Gotcha.
Dude, because another thing too, like your pictures are pretty much all over the internet. You have a built physique. You're on the larger side. So I am curious, right? Because it's very hard to achieve that physique naturally. Extremely hard. So you've never taken any enhancements?
I've taken testosterone during when I turned pro. After I turned pro, not when I turned pro, but after I turned pro, I think it was like about 2 years in, I started taking testosterone, but I had to build like it was the stupidest thing. I just had to overcome. 2 years after I turned pro, I had a coach at the time, and he was like, "There's no way you're going to continue at the pro level unless you take this, because there's only so far you're going to get, because just like everybody else who turns pro in the IFBB, they're genetic freaks just like I was.
Yeah.
But if you have everybody that's a genetic freak and you're the one not taking stuff, it's not a level playing field." So there'd be many nights when I just have a cold, clammy, shaky hand with a needle, and I'd just be doing this right here. And there'd be like literally like weeks when I'd be like, all right, I'm going to attempt number 576, like, and I just do this. And I literally, like, this is what would happen, Valley. So Vale, I'd take a needle, and this is what would literally happen. It would sound like I'm in a tunnel, and then everything would start closing in and start turning black. That's what would happen. And it's like, there's no way I'm not going to follow through with this. It took me a very long time to build up, like, to get over this fear of even doing that. Like, so when people say there's no way you've turned pro naturally, and I was dealing with this the whole time, is crippling. I think that was the toughest thing to get over, was the fear of taking testosterone via that transport method, which was a needle. And once I got over this, I had to, like, it was the toughest thing. I hated this. If there was something that I could just eliminate that I never had to do, it would be that. Mm. But for the most part, I competed without anything. And that's the reason why.
Oh, because I know, especially like in bodybuilding, weight training, anything in these fields and areas, a lot of these people are on like Trenibol, HGH. They're on like these very massive, like they're gonna like blow you up. But you're right, you're correct, where you also have to be a genetic freak to even accomplish that. Because like some random dude taking HGH, he's not gonna get the results someone who has those like peak genetics where they're gonna get the massive biceps, the massive tries, and compete in these shows. So yeah, I agree with you 100% there. So another thing I'm curious on, right? Like looking around, like going through your field and going through being an IFBB pro, what was it like being around people that did take these enhancements?
I mean, ever since I was an amateur, I've been around these people the whole time, and I've been accused. The best compliment in the world is when you're natural and people are saying, no, you're on something. It's like the best thing in the world, because you're literally destroying people that are taking everything in the world and the whole bag of tricks and still can't beat you. So I got told this all the time. They'd say backstage, what are you taking? What are you on? And I'd be like, nothing. And everybody would be like, this guy's lying. There's no freaking way. I'd have this tactic that I do. I'd have my jumpsuit on, my sweats backstage, and I'd wait till the very last moment, because everybody would like start putting oil on. There's women backstage that spray you, and then they put the tanner on and stuff. And there's companies that brush you and spray you with the bronze and all this stuff. I'd wait till the last moment. And I love doing this because I just back to back. I'd have my jumpsuit on and everything else, and I'd recognize and spy a couple new people who don't know who I was or never saw them before. And they'd be like, all right, competitors, one more minute before we get out there. The lightweight class or middleweight class is coming up. Right when they say this, I'd start taking off my sweats, and you'd witness the eyes of everybody backstage. They'd just be like, and it's almost like you can hear people shitting on themselves in a room. If this could be the case, as this would happen, and I'd just be like, and the reason why I did this is because I was so nervous, even if I knew I was going to win a show or most likely to win a show, that there's always the chance of losing. I had so much fear and so much nervousness, no matter how many times I won, that this dispelled and destroyed all my nerves. As soon as I did this, their look solidified my victory and also let me know, hey, why the hell are you nervous for? Look at this guy. He just turned white and he's black. And this is something that happened overwhelming. Like, it just happened often. And so I'd keep doing this. And even on the pro level, I'd wait till the last second. But mind you, these guys are flying from Germany. They're flying from Italy at the pro level, from Canada, everywhere else, in Brazil, and I'm competing against them. These tactics don't work on them because they're the best on the planet. The less than 1% population that does this. I'm in the elite. So that same tactic doesn't work against them because as soon as I turned pro, I found out very quickly how I was on the bench all over again. So it's very humbling competing against the elite.
Gotcha. So okay, so what I'm curious about too, it's like because I know like as bodybuilders, there's like the cycling. So you would cycle like with your body weight. There's a time where you have like much higher body weight due to the muscle and the training, and then you kind of cycle off. And there's periods where either you gain more fat or you lean down. So I'm curious, like, what's your current off-season body weight right now, and is it your best one? And like, what would be like your best body weight you would say?
Well, I mean, if you want stats, 5'5", 225 pounds, and that's me right now. I kind of took a break from the gym. And the crazy thing is once you build like a physique that's a really good staple, a really good foundation that you've held for years, it's kind of hard to get rid of. Meaning like I ate like crap for the last 4 months because I'm going to school. I've been doing debates. And I can literally go in the mirror right now, pull my shirt up, and I can see my abs. I can see my serratus. Like it's still there. It's hard to get because I've had this for such a long time that I think my body is just solidified and I've just held on to this. It's harder to get rid of. But if you have new gains and you put this on, it's easy to get rid of because your body hasn't solidified and held on to this. Meaning, so when you ask me about cycles and me going through periods, I never go above, I would say 20 pounds from what my competition weight would be. Because if you go over this, that's more work for you. That's more fat you got to get rid of, more hours on the treadmill you got to do, more suffering you have to do. So if I'm within 20 pounds, then I know how much work I have to do, and it's not going to be that much. And it's, I can at least gauge how easy it is for me to prep or get ready for something, or like a photo shoot. Because I used to do photo shoots for magazines, publications, everything else. So I used to do like work doing this as well too, and get paid doing shoots. But that industry is kind of defunct now that the cyber industry is taken over. Magazines are like a thing of the past when it comes to that. But yeah, that's what I used to do.
Gotcha. I can't think of his name at the moment, but there's this dude. He's a professional IFBB pro, and they have a picture of him like on his off season where he's just like he's gorging himself, and you can see he gains so much fat, and he just like burns it off on his next season. And it interests me like how like fast you can actually go from being or look obese to getting back into your natural state. So
that's
like,
that's nuts. The person you're talking about is Lee Priest. I've had conversation with him. He's a really good guy. He's very brutally honest, like I am. Like he'll tell you like it is. I'll do the same thing, and we're definitely honest to a default. That's one thing that I have in common with him. So when I see those pictures, I'm just like, that's so much work. People don't realize how much freaking work it is to take all this off. But here's the thing though, the difference between a pro mindset is when you're taking this off, it's just suffering. You're so familiar with suffering. Suffering is literally like, like the back of your hand. It's like a switch you turn on and you go to a really dark place or maybe a good place, but you go to this place and you know how to just kill yourself, and you're killing yourself. And that's all this is a sport, exposing your weaknesses, meaning like your passions, your desires, meaning like cheesecake or food or anything. And it's like, it's such a, so when I think about this hobby sport, whatever you want to call it, it's something that exposes all your weaknesses that nobody else can help you out with. It's just you. And you're denying your flesh, you're denying yourself, you're denying time, all this, and it's just one big trudge of suffering that you're going through. But if you can develop this, it's like, think about how much more disciplined you'd be about anything else. I remember times I dieted so hard that I can feel the bones on the bottom of my feet because there was whatever fat you have in whatever fat cushions your organs, gone. Like it's so little. You have like a skeleton face and you're just like suffering, but you're so familiar with this. It's like people can't imagine that this would literally break people mentally if they did a fraction of what you did to get to that condition. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah. And I would say too, like, for instance, I know it's not even after that, even after you achieve the goal and you achieve the physique, there's still like, I don't want to say issues, but there's still problems that you have to like go through. Like for instance, like a dive in libido, a lower energy, pretty much like like a mental state, like how you say like your mental clarity becomes like a fog, which is like another thing too, like leading on top of that question. And apologies, I'm giving you like a question sandwich here, but
No, you're good. You're
has
good.
perfect. Has bodybuilding ever given you a form of body dysmorphia, or has changed your body image?
No, the reason why it hasn't changed my body image is because I looked at it as like that was Saturday. Like that's how I look at it. Is like that was just Saturday. Like I'm out here and I could breathe, and then that's it. I didn't look at my body as like my identity. I didn't say, well, this is who I am. No, I'm just Martae who loves to eat and loves to enjoy regular foods like this person or here. I think the problem with this is when you make it your whole identity, it becomes very problematic because here's the problem. So Vale, if you're a bodybuilder and you have this amazing physique and you get hit by a car and you lose that, who the hell are you underneath all that muscle? Did that person go away? Are you going to lose yourself? I didn't pour so much of me that's who I was. It just happened to be like a suit I was wearing that I put on Saturday. So if I dieted for a show that was on a Saturday, the suit came on, and it's like when I eat pizza and everything else, of course, my abs are going to, go away a little bit. You're going to see them. But it's like, yeah, this is just a suit that changes. And if you think about something that you put on and take off, that's not who you are. So to me, I think that if I had body dysmorphia, this would be like, I am the suit. No, I'm not the suit. It's just something that I happen to wear on Saturdays. So if you think about it like this, it just becomes a thing that you just happen to put on. And if you could conceptualize this, just think about how you can create this distinction between you and keeping your identity at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, it kind of sounds like Spider-Man and Venom.
That's what it is. The bad guy comes out on Saturday, everybody gets their asses whooped, and then I'm back to work on Monday. That's it. Yep.
Gotcha. So, with a lot of current controversy surrounding you, we're gonna go into like the next category of questions. Which let me see right here. My computer's lagging out a little bit. Okay, so we know you have a history in porn, and what led you down that path in life? What actually got you, I guess, interested in pornography or acting in pornography?
I wasn't interested in corn. We'll just use corn for YouTube language because I'd like this to be
apologies. Yeah.
On YouTube. I'll put it on YouTube. I could do the editing post. But here's the thing, though. I never got into it because I was interested in this. I was just chasing money at the time. So during the time when I was doing photo shoots, I was getting paid for doing photo shoots, just regular advertisements for a product, shoots during this time. There was like a big magazine boom during this time. And I'd say, people would tell me, do you want to compete in another show? You could win another show. I remember you were like a legend. People used to tell me this all the time. Why don't you compete anymore? You would have won the Mr. Arizona again or Mr. whatever. And I'd say, no, because I lose money doing that. But I flew to Hawaii, got paid $1,500 and then flew back first class, mind you. And then it paid for all my food. It paid for everything else. And I could look like a bodybuilder and get paid. To me, that made a lot of like rational sense to me. In bodybuilding, you do this, you lose money, you get a plastic trophy for like a $5, $10 trophy, and they tell you that you won something. To me, that just didn't make sense because I was like, oh, well, why not just do the same thing and get paid for it and not get a plastic trophy? So I went down the mode of just doing modeling. Now, when you're doing modeling, you get approached by everybody, meaning DMs, everybody's hitting you up. I had a section in Iron Man magazine, like, you know how they have a column that somebody writes? I had a column in Iron Man magazine. It's called How to Be a Pro. And I have magazines here with me still in. So I not only wrote the column, but I had photos of me in there. And I was talking about how people can handle being a pro, the road to being pro, and how the odds of becoming a pro are hard. So that's my whole segment. So when you start doing this, everybody hits you up. Hey, can we have you in this, and this? Everybody that's attracted to something good isn't always good themselves now, are they, Vale? So people that hit me up, they were like, hey, I'll pay you this much if you do a risque photo shoot. And how their reasoning is you wear something on stage that you could ball up in your hands like this. And I was like, well, yeah, that's true. Well, you're only going to wear something like that on this shoot. What's the difference? And to me, I'm thinking, well, yeah, they're right about that. It's only that much. And what happens in the industry is they'll say, well, you did this. Why not just have this much? Why not just cover up your junk and then just hide it with that and just do something. Why not do something from the back wearing nothing? They're not going to see it. So it becomes this, you know how they're starting to lead you in there, and then they throw money in the mix, and they're like, well, it's not that much. It's like $800. We'll pay $800 to do this for just 30 minutes, which happened to be an hour of shoots. And I'm like, man, I'm getting paid that much for just doing this. And then I have another shoot later on that, like, so I just kept doing this and racking money up. And next thing you know, I was at a photo shoot, and I think it was like, no, I'll tell you that later, but people started hitting me up, and next thing you know, I started just easily becoming like more desensitized and less shy, doing more risque stuff. And I get hit up by a studio, and they hit me up, and I was like, they were like, well, how would you like to do this? And you'll get paid, $1,500. And I was like, for doing what? Well, by yourself, jerking, whatever. And I was like, I'm good, man. I get paid decent right now already. And they're like, do you get paid decent enough to where, you could just come back and do repeat shoots like this, to where you can get $3,000 from just making 2 trips and call it a vacation? And I was like, damn. And how they got me was, they were like, you do this at home anyways. Why not just get paid for something you already do? And I was like, I had already been exposed to like doing semi suggestive, provocative stuff already, that I was like, I just said, what the hell? I did this. What's there's like a sliver of difference from doing this. To me, the money is what rationalized this. And then I went and started doing all these trips to Miami, coming back, bought like a Lincoln Navigator, bought a BMW, paid for my condo for the whole year. Like, I was just flying back and forth, doing stuff on camp, like whatever. And when I started doing this content, it was for a company called, I'm not going to say the name. I've said it in a debate already anyways. I started doing just various shoots for this company, and it was just solo content. I just did solo content. And there was a person in the office, and he signed off on these checks after you're going to fly back on your flight, because they took care of all my meals. They took care of my stay. I didn't have to pay for my stay. I got flown out first class. Literally, like, they treat you like royalty when you're getting out there. And then comes the day. They fly you out there, and then they're like, all right, do you want to take this Viagra before? There's like a woman there. There's like another woman. Then there's the guy who owns the studio, and he's like, all right, they'll help you out, this and that. And I was there, and I was like, and then there's people, crew, and they're just filming. And I just shot it, and I was like, I've never taken those blue pills before, but I took it because I was so nervous. I didn't know what to do. Shot my first scene. And after that was it. I came back and forth and shot more scenes. And after I had ended this shoot, I went to an office, which was in the studio. It's a massive studio. They shoot hip hop videos in here. It's rented out by all kinds of other people, music artists, whoever else in Miami, Florida. They take you back to an office, which was at the desk, and he puts a check out in front of you, and there's a stack of papers like this thick. And he says, all right, I'm going to sign this check off over to you, but you have to sign over all these contracts. And this is just the rights and everything else to the videos and shoots. And I said, sure, whatever. You guys already saw me, what's the harm in anybody else seeing this? You guys are selling it. So I went there and signed everything else, got my check, and was like, hell yeah. And then flew on back to my state, and that's what I started doing. But the studio, it wasn't just selling to a certain clientele, meaning like men or women. Mind you, it was like think of an umbrella, everything that fits under there: music artists, corn for women, corn for these people, whoever else. So I didn't know, like they were like, well, this content's being sold specifically for this. I didn't care. I didn't ask. I just saw the check. I saw a contract, sign that, and then flew back, and it paid for all my food, so I can continue to do, I would say, health magazine photo shoots also, and everything else. So I started doing this, but I found out that a lot of people got roped into doing this industry, and they got, I wouldn't say tricked into getting into this, but it's almost like a conditioning. Well, you don't wear anything on stage anyways, and then it just leads to this. And people will also tell you in industry, well, if you don't shoot this photo shoot with me, I'm going to tell somebody else that you're hard to work with, thus burning a bridge. And then I'm not going to get more money, and then that's going to ruin more money down the. So it's like there's a little bit of blackmail stuff and all this that's in the industry too. So it's like, it's very tough if I had somebody to talk to me in the industry and said, no, you don't want to do this because this will live on in the internet forever and you'll never be able to take any of this stuff down and it's going to ruin job opportunities for you. You know, if I would have known any of this stuff or somebody would have talked to me, you know, but this is just me thinking I knew it all because I was a bodybuilding champion before this. And this is before I even turned pro. Mind you, I was an amateur doing all this stuff. After I turned pro, actually, before I turned pro, I let all this stuff go behind me and started competing and said, let me just get a regular 9 to 5. I'm just going to compete. And then, and this is what happened next. I went to nationals or the USA's in Vegas, and I took third in the nation my first time at a national show. This wasn't taking anything, no gear, no drugs, nothing. The most I taken was like clenbuterol, which is like a fat burner. And then my coach was like, all right, since you want to do this and you're getting out of that industry, we're going to have you do like nationals because the only person that's in the nation that beat you is going to show up. And it was like, you're so close to turning pro. 4 months later, I turned pro at NPC Nationals in Miami, Florida. And the rest is history. So.
Gotcha. No, dude, because like listening to that, it's like the industry too. It's like it's known for its shady practices, blackmail, leading people on into like, okay, just do a little more. So, like hearing that, it's like it's no surprise that there's going to be content that is painted for specific viewers, and then to be what would be the word, like reconstructed later or like misused later, and people take it out of context.
I wouldn't say misused. They're using it for their use. Yeah, but the problem with this is I found out I was on different ads. My image and likeness was on different websites and all this other stuff. But the reason why I didn't make a fuss about this was like, because I was like, it's going to go away anyways. I didn't know I was going to turn pro, but mind you, I mean, I knew I was good enough to turn pro, but I just didn't take it that serious because I was chasing money and modeling at the time. And people are telling me, hey, bro, that looks like you in this site. And I was like, yeah, man, I shot some stuff back in the day. They probably took my photo and used it for this. This happens a lot in the industry as well, too. People use your image and likeness. And here's the thing, though. I would believe it. I mean, it would be hard to believe if somebody says, well, I was an amateur. I did one bodybuilding show and they're trying to steal my image. No, I was like the top amateur in the nation. And then magazines were literally like, there was a buzz about me. Martae Reyes is the threat to the title. Like, coming, like they started talking about me as soon as I did one national show. It was a wrap. I was in Muscular Development magazine. They were talking about it. They were just talking about it in this magazine too, in Muscle and Fitness. They were like, Martae's the next pro. He's gonna be like, and I was like, oh, this buzz is starting to happen. What the problem with this is the bigger a buzz, the more people start they want to use your image. Now you're the hot thing. Now I'm starting to see my photo everywhere else in more places, maybe even gay website, things like this. Like, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. I'm just going to ignore this and continue to train hard and try to turn pro. And that's what happened.
So I'm curious, because it's under contract, have you tried to go and look for alternatives or look for methods to actually remove your image from these websites?
It's hard to do this because I actually just recently texted the person after this scandal that happened because my past came up, and I know you didn't really bring it up, but I was accused of doing I was going to bring that up. Yeah, homosexual acts and stuff, which never happened. When a lot of people shoot, like there was a famous bodybuilder who's also a pro, who shot with the same studio, by the way. And there's an infamous video of him. I never saw it myself, but with him and a grapefruit. And I'll just leave it at that. But it's like, even if you hear this, you as a guy would be like, that's a pretty gay thing to do. Now, the problem with this is there's gay. That word is being used in our culture. It used to mean happy at one point. Now it means stupid. So if I say, hey, bro, stop acting gay, this doesn't mean I'm telling you stop acting like you have an alternate lifestyle. This means stop acting stupid, right? So even I would agree that the things that I did were grotesque and gay at the time, meaning stupid. So I would agree with a lot of people who are opponents of mine that says, well, this is stupid and gay. I would agree it is. It's really really stupid stuff. But I will say this though. A lot of these accusations, the reason why I was accused of this is because it was on gay sites.
Yes.
But when I did meet my accusers, I said, "Hey, can you come up with some footage or receipts or evidence?" It doesn't exist because I never shot content like that. It's always just solo stuff. But this happens a lot in the industry. A lot of people who are bodybuilders, this doesn't pay a lot of money as a sport, by the way. It's not like we're getting Nike contracts, even though Nike was associated with Super League, which I turned pro in as well, too. I turned pro in two different world-class sports. But there's a lot of bodybuilders who are pro who don't make a lot of money and are like, I got to afford the drugs. I got to afford to eat because steak. And, if you think about it, reason why our populace is eating like crap is because it's cheap to eat junk food. It's cheap to eat off the dollar menu. But if you're going to eat a salad, if you're going to eat chicken breast and quality meat, it's going to run you a pretty dollar. So this industry isn't like it's not cheap. It costs a lot of money because you're talking about anabolic drugs, steroids, you're talking about food, all these other things. So it's like when people come at you and they're like, hey, if you shoot this, I'm going to give you like $800. That's like groceries. That's like, another cycle somebody paid for. So I can see how people can fall prey to this. And guess what? When they shoot with solo content, it's going to end up on gay sites because who's going to want that material? Probably men, maybe, I would guess, or even women. Who knows? But that's the problem is there's this side of the industry where if I could talk to men right now who are doing any bodybuilding and they get approached by photographers, don't do it, man, because you're going to be fighting allegations. You're going to be fighting all this stuff. If I talked to them and said, hey, because I recently, back to this, I text the person and said, hey, is there any way that I can look at the contract that I signed so I can show people that I had no rights to this? I signed over rights just to do this. Here's the reason why it's hard to get rid of this off the internet. Think about the servers in Taiwan or some other like not even CCP, but Brazil or another country who runs these websites. So you mean to tell me they would have to send somebody documents to say, hey, relinquish this? Like it's going to be such a hard thing to do because a lot of these sites aren't run by American companies. And then people that are using your image, not in the, like, just think about this legal nightmare and trying to get any of this stuff removed. It's going to be a hassle. Insane.
So exactly that. I guess like people, for new up-and-comers, whether they be bodybuilding, modeling, what's something that you've taken away from this that you can give as advice when dealing with the specific industry in more detail?
So if you're dealing with the specific industry, don't do drugs, meaning like, so let me go ahead and clarify this. When I say don't do drugs, if you're thinking about doing bodybuilding or getting big, don't touch the steroids. Don't do any of this stuff because it's going to ruin your physique. The reason why I say this is because most of the time you aren't dealing with doctors who are giving you this out of gym bags. They don't know how much you should take. They're not prescribing you anything. They have no degree or anything. If you're going to do this and you're really good, my biggest advice I'd say is win a show naturally first. Win several shows naturally first so you can know that this isn't the thing that's making you win shows. You're doing this off of hard work like I did before, winning shows naturally, destroying competition. Start exhausting all your resources, your natural resources like your natural gifts, your natural talent, everything else, and you'll quickly find out whether or not you're pro potential or not. Because if you can't win a show, why would you put the cart before the horse and do this backwards? How I did this in the industry, if you could use me for an example, I turned pro without taking like anything but diuretics. And then even after that, it took me a very long time to even think about doing this. And then I did that. So just think about this. If you're trying to do drugs to look good for the woman at the beach or look good for anybody else, you're taking, and I'm going to say this, just listen to what I'm saying. And I really mean this. Every time you put a needle in your hand, you're putting in your body, think, is this worth taking years off of my life? So that way, Sally, who can break up with me in 2 weeks, is going to leave me. So that way I can then say, well, I lost her. Why am I going to stay on this anyways? And then get off and then ruin your physique because your body's going to shut off your natural production levels for a period of time. It's like now you're gambling with your body, you're gambling with your health, and you could possibly be taking years off your life for this. So,
Gotcha. So I guess to piggyback onto that one, do you have any advice for people in the other industry? Whether that be caution to how to protect themselves, what would you do? Or if you could go back, what would you do different in that industry?
Don't do it. And the reason why I say this is because if you have ex drug user, right? Somebody did drugs.
Mm.
I would go back and let's say I was going to do heroin or something else like this. I would create another person, go back in the, like Marty McFly, go back in the past and knock the syringe out of my hand and just be like, don't even start. This is the stupidest thing in the world. Don't even start, because once you start, it's like now you have an addiction. Mine was like chasing money. I was very materialistic back in those days because bodybuilding is kind of a vein. It's like vein adjacent to vanity. It's all this. The reason why I say adjacent is because I looked at it as a suit. I didn't look at this as everything. There are people that do this and it's like, oh, it's everything. I have to be perfection. And, you know, if they, heaven forbid, they lose 20 pounds and they want to take themselves out because they lost their identity. But for me, I would say don't even get started. If you are in this industry of bodybuilding and somebody tells you, hey, there's $800, $1,000, just do a nude photo shoot. It's, you know, it's nothing bad. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? You only wear this much on stage anyways. Yeah. Don't even start, because that's how it starts. That's how they get you. Once you do this, they'll say, well, you did that. What's the difference between doing this? And then when you do that, they'll say, well, hey, you might as well do the rest. Like, it's like, don't even start, because just understand that it leads to life ruination. Because think about the other industries that you won't be able to do. I'm not running for Congress, obviously, because they would crucify me. I can't get back into certain industries because that would be bad. I can't be a teacher because obviously that would be bad. So think about employers. When they look you up, they look at your social history, your when you look at online forums, things like this, people do deep dives and they'll probably deny you employment because of this. So it's like, it's just really bad. I would just say, don't even start this. I don't care how good the money is. It'll never be worth it, because think about it, Vale. Do I have that same stack of wad of money that I had that first time I did that shoot? No, my hand's empty. I've cycled through money and it's gone. It's very fleeting. Meanwhile, where are those photos and the videos? They're still up. They're not fleeting. They're not going anywhere. It's not a good trade-off, because you have something that's fleeting. It's going to go for something that's going to stay there. It's going to be a permanent tattoo, a permanent blemish that you'll never be able to get rid of. I would say don't even start it. That's my biggest advice I give. Don't even start. Gotcha.
And I think that's good advice. From the horrible things that I've heard coming from that industry, I agree with you 100%. So, like, leading into the backlash, how's everything been after? Like, how have you experienced, or what was your experience after the backlash? Do you think you've come away stronger from it, or do you think that's left a lasting effect on you?
I'm going to be honest, and this can sound kind of dark when I say this, but I mean this with good intention. And I mean this as somebody that's not that person. Let me start by saying men's health is extremely important. In this industry, a lot of people delete themselves. Often this happens. There's a lot of depression. And the reason why is because you become a thing. Because all you are is just a money grab for somebody. And when people look at you, they can make money off of you. And when you become a thing, you just become this autonomous thing that's just like, I might as well just be a robot that makes money for people. It's like your humanity is being stripped from you, and you're just being seen as just a thing. And then you start looking at yourself as just a thing. And just think about how emotionless this becomes and how detached you become, because you start numbing yourself to everything. Well, if I take myself out, all the criticism will end, all this, and, all I am is just this. And that's what it boils down to. All you are is just that thing that you're doing, which is the corn stuff. And it just ends up really bad. So the reason why I said that is because a lot of people don't realize that when you attack people that come out of this industry and you're extremely harsh, meaning like you should off yourself. And when you say things like this, or when you say, when you have these allegations of being, living that lifestyle, or you're that person that's attracted to the same sex or anything, it's very harmful and very hurtful, especially when you're not that person. To the degree of you can go back to this space where you used to think about deleting yourself or kind of think about this stuff. It's really dark, what I'm saying, but it needs to be said that when you start going down this path, depression will follow suit. Your self-worth will go through the basement. It's just really bad. So as far as the backlash, there was like a low point when I was like, oh, this is like really dark. Like now I remember what it felt like when I used to have these stupid thoughts and things like this. And it's like, damn, man, you have to detach from the internet, and you have to realize that this isn't real. If anybody's in this industry or getting out, it's all fake. You aren't that person anymore. That's that past person. That's the only person that they're attacking. They're not attacking this person that's not associated with any of this anymore. And that's the thing about this. You'll never be able to live this down, and just understand this, that that's not who you are. It's just like some straw man that they're attacking that has nothing to do with you right now. So it's, as far as this, I kind of like, I'll probably like deflect it, lean into it, and say, yeah, so what? I mean, it's not like you're not gay either, because if you're looking at Korn, you're looking at and here's the thing, how are you not gay? Because you're looking at somebody else that's naked on a screen that's a guy with another woman. And what would be the difference between you being a cuck and sitting in a hotel room watching a couple, get together and do things with each other? And what's the difference, Vale? I'll ask you that even right now. What's the difference between you sitting in a hotel room, the cuck chair, and you watching Korn on your laptop?
Oh no, I 100% agree with that. I honestly, in my personal belief, I am against Korn. In any like, I've had multiple spaces on this and had multiple talks from like, people should stay away from it. I advocate against porn. Korn, my apologies. Yeah, just
you're good.
So another thing too, and like the whole like backlash that you received, it's like, how many times are you going to show this guy's posterior in group chats and float them through the feed on my account? And I'm like, oh my god, it's like multiple people reposting, talking about it. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. If anything, you're more of a homo by repeatedly reposting this guy and staring at his photo and talking about it over and over again.
Yeah, because I'm over it. Like, I'm over it. I know what I look like. Why would you show me what I look like already during the time? It's like, well, we need to show you again what you look like. Like, this is the dumbest thing. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever. And I'm constantly reminded, yeah, cool. 2012. Yeah, that's what I look like, or whatever it was. And it's like, actually, that was over 10 years ago. A lot of that. So it's like, when I see this, it's like, it's stupid. They're attacking me with things that I've already been forthcoming with and already came out with. And I've been public about all this stuff, but it's like, well, we need to shame you a little bit more. Here's the thing, though, I would say, and this isn't like a slight against me, and this isn't like saying that they are justified for everything that they do. But here's the thing. If you do something bad, you should be shamed. There should be shame. I feel shame every time I see that photo, and good. I should feel shame for that. And I would never, in Vale, I'll tell you this. I never told them that they were wrong to attack me with shame from my past. I never once said this in a group. Never once did this. Nor have I ever attacked these individuals who've attacked me recently with this controversy. And you can talk to anybody I've ever been in a space in, or anybody I've ever had a conversation with. I've never once attacked these individuals. And the reason why I don't attack them is because that would nullify me not attacking somebody else currently doing this. You see what I'm saying? That would make me very contrarian, because it'd be like, well, you're saying you don't like being attacked and you're attacking back, but you attack people who are currently doing this. Well, hold on. There's a difference. I don't tell them that they can't shame me for this. I'll never say that. I think shame's a very powerful tool, and I think we should use this. And like if I had a debate with an OF worker, I'd shame her a little bit. I say, this is bad. Think about your kids, this and that. There's shame in that, right? It's a very powerful tool. It was used against me, and I felt it. That's how you know it's powerful. It's so impactful that I want to move away from this even more. Well, you don't think that this would be so impactful as a weapon for good to make people move away from this even more? Well, why don't we use this? I wouldn't tell them not to use it against me. I've never once said this. Why? I mean, even if you, Vale, if you used it against me and said, well, you should be ashamed of this. Yeah, I'll agree with you. Yes, it's very shameful. I'm embarrassed by things that I did in the past. So what? What's your next point? You see what I'm saying? No. At least be consistent in my logic when it comes to this.
No, I agree, but I think it's also, you're dealing with people who are not consistent in their own logic. I think it's hilarious because you're literally staring at another man's ass, and on top of this, it's like, yeah. Like, you came to X and you started blowing up on the platform, I would say about 3 months ago? Little
while ago, yeah.
Yeah, not too distant past. And usually people just start, clout sharking. They're doing what they can to get attention off of somebody who happens to be growing on the platform, and with also like connections that you've had with. I don't know if it's like allowed, because again, I don't want to get anybody in trouble if it's not allowed to mention.
No, you can mention things. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be too bad. Yeah.
Got you. So yeah. So basically, like your connections with Andrew Wilson and the Crucible, like people see that and like, oh, okay, well, let me fight him, and then let me try to fight Andrew, and we're gonna grow from all the attention that's on us. So yeah, not only are you right in like saying, hey, you know what, like, hey, if you feel like it's right to feel, shame for what you did in the past, hey, it's your past. But on top of that, it's like paying them very little mind, if none at all, is like the actually best way to fight back, because you're not giving them that attention, which was what they crave. Let me see.
We have to understand that there has to be a pathway to redemption for everybody, because if there isn't a pathway, in baptizing yourself doesn't mean anything, meaning like you're not going to leave your old life behind and kill the old person, because the old person dies when we come up out of the water. And it's like, then this means nothing. Then baptism means nothing. It's like, it's just meaningless then, if that's the case, that there was no pathway to redemption for any of us. There has to be, especially if you stop doing certain things. There has to be, even for people who are, and we're talking about recidivism rates, meaning people not going back to prison and repeating the same crime. There has to be like an escape route for everybody. Like if you're in a room and there's fire, and you don't want to stay in that room forever. You want an escape route. We have evacuation plans for schools, everything else. There should be an evacuation plan for your redemption, for your salvation. So, I think that if you do repeat something and you stay where you're at right now, you're doomed, and you're continually dooming yourself. But that's where I think that shame is a very powerful tool. Now, these individuals that have attacked me, the amount of attack that I've gotten was like insurmountable. It was like think about it. I threw like a little grain of sand at them, right? And it wasn't even me throwing them at them. I was asked. There was a woman named Raging Tomato, and she has a platform where she hosts debates. She's a neutral moderator. This individual was saying, well, she's an unbiased see you next Tuesday, or a biased see you next Tuesday, meaning like, she's picking sides or rigging, debates or something like that. That's what this notion goes to. And I literally said, well, where is she biased? Can you show me the proof how she's biased? Well, you're white knighting for this woman. No, because this could be a male moderator or anybody else. Why would I show up to a fight if the referee is rigging the fights? This is with anybody. And then when I did this, they started pushing back against me. People started digging in my past. And guess what happened? This little grain of sand that I threw, this is how this all started. Next thing you know, this wall, you ever seen the movie The Mummy, and that big wall of like sand cup? Like,
yes.
One sand with like one grain, and this big wall from The Mummy comes out in response to like this question that I asked. Mind you, not one time did I attack these people. Did I throw like ad hominems at these people or anything else? I just asked a question about a moderator, about her not being neutral. And next thing you know, like this whole clout chasing attack, that's literally what it is a clout chase, came at me with the full fury of artificial clout chasing, ego driven, whatever this is, ignorance that came at me. And I was like, this is stupid. It is literally retarded. So yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well, no, I mean, since you were new to X, just throwing that out there, this like that specific individual and individuals that all like run in a specific group that have a history of that. So attacking you is like nothing new or nothing like surprising. They see it again, exactly as you said, cloud sharking. So yeah, like let me see. My bad. Having a bit of a technical issue.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, so yeah, in after the backlash, it's like, what would you like to say? Not in like addressing, but like as a whole, say to those like that have accused you and spread false narratives against you, and just not in like this specific group only, but like in general, who have like, oh, that guy is like false, information, false narratives, and everything else that they've thrown at you.
I would say, I would tell him Christ is risen. I'll tell him go see. Go seek Christ as I've sought Christ, and I've made mistakes, and these people have made mistakes. Even these people aren't above redemption. They can find redemption themselves. I'll just tell them, hey, find redemption as I've found it, and I seek redemption for myself, as I hope you find it for yourself. And that's the thing, though, is I would say Christ is God, first of all, and I would say that they need to just walk their own path, and hopefully they can find a parish and find some redemption for themselves. I want that for them. I want them to seek redemption for themselves. I want that almost more than I want for myself to a certain degree, because it's very humbling to be attacked, by the way, by a myriad of different people, and then just be like, okay, well, I was vindicated. I wasn't having relations with, the same sex or anything like that. But after all this, it's like, still, I'm still not going to attack them. I don't hate these men. I don't hate these people. I'll still never attack these people directly or personally, because it's not for me to do. I'm not judging them like this. I can only judge their behavior, but I can't judge that person specifically because I don't know their heart. I can't do this. I can't tell them that they're not going to be saved. I can't make any of these claims. But what I can say is I only wish redemption for you, and that's it.
Perfect. Well said. I would say, just to quickly add on top of that, it's like, what kind of, grown man, your worst insult is you're gay. That's your worst insult. So let's see. Speaking of Christ, what brought you to orthodoxy? What made you think like this was the correct choice for you?
Okay, I'm gonna go back to names. Andrew Wilson, believe it or not, he wasn't even talking. I was doing podcasts during this time, and I was doing they weren't like formal debates or informal debates, but they just happened to be debates because I was really big into like relationship dynamics, things like this. And this is me coming off of just doing interviews as a pro athlete. And a lot of these interviews ended up being debates, because we started talking about how bodybuilding affects relationships. If you're dieting, do things that your woman pisses you off? Like, are there things that she does to piss you off? Other things like this, right? But I started doing more podcasts and more interviews about relationship dynamics, and started watching the podcast space. I started watching Andrew Wilson on whatever, and then I was like, who's this guy? He talks a lot of sense. He looks like a blue-collar worker. It's very fascinating, everything he's saying, and I started just diving deep, and I think it wasn't on the podcast, but it was something else, and I had heard he was an Orthodox Christian. And I said, interesting. Let me check this out. And I started talking to more people in the industry. And next thing you know, I went to go seek out a parish, because he had told somebody else to go seek out a parish. And I went to go seek out a parish, and it was beautiful. I loved it. Went to go see what a divine liturgy looked like. And after that was it. And I fell in love with the Orthodox Church, the faith. I fell in love with Christ again. And that's really what it was. And this was like long after I did the corn career stuff and the shoots. This is like long after I put all that. That was like 10 years behind me at that point. And I was just moving forward in my life, and I wanted to do more debates and more podcasts. And that was it. I was seeking something deeper. And Andrew, if he's listening to this right now, I would have never found Christ if I would have never found Christ if it wasn't for you. Yeah. Gotta get tough here.
No, I get you, bro. No,
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing though. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest, with when it came to my faith or orthodoxy or any of this. Like, even right now, I think it's like, you have to think about this all the time. People get accused all the time of drawing people away from Christ, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning, like, because I do debates, I must be driving people away from Christ or making the faith look bad. If I was one of those people that turned to Christ because of this, think about how many people were entertained and sought Christ as a result of entertainment, the charisma, the value of the product that he puts on, things like this. Think about other people like Jay Dyer, who've converted, changed their hearts and minds to Christ.
Mhm.
So when I say this, I don't put this lightly. He may not be a role model as in like somebody that calls himself a role model, but I'm an example of somebody who turned their heart to Christ because of him. So I look at him as a good friend. And if anybody asked me, like, you know, what made me turn my heart to Christ, it was Andrew Wilson. I'll say this: he was the vessel in which I was drawn and had my attention turned towards his church, which is his people. So that's it.
I think that's really nice, man. I think like how you explain it's a very powerful thing. So getting like either getting emotional or feeling that impact from it, it is a beautiful thing. Turning your life to like a more of a peaceful, knowing that the protection, because I'm not that well versed into a lot of these things when it comes to like orthodoxy, because I come from a Catholic background, but it's a nice thing, bro.
Very close.
Which is definitely. How's the path of catechumenism been? Do you struggle in faith or practice, or have you been learning has the transition and practice has been natural for you?
They call it catechesis. Catechesis is laborious. It's tough. Mm-hmm. It has to be a very personal thing. You can't do this. This is how you know things would probably be mostly fake, right? If I had a ministry or if I was evangelizing online, you should overnight. All of a sudden, people didn't know who I was, and I blew up on X, and I said, you should just see Christ, and everything I said was about Christ or any, and I just sounded like an infomercial late night. When I go home, I have a prayer corner that I have, and this is something I don't know if Catholics do. This also shows some of my ignorance on that side as well too. But I have a prayer corner. I have 2 prayer ropes that I have, and then I have these wristbands because I am stupid. When I say I'm stupid, meaning like I am so full of fault that I need reminders on my wrist. I don't have them on right now. Because I'm going to school right now and I don't want to break them because of what we're doing in school. But I am so full of fault that I have to have constant reminders because of my past, because of things that I was involved in. It says, Lord Jesus Christ, forgive me a sinner. And I see this every time I reach for something, grab something, use my phone. I'm reminded by this. I need constant reminders because I'm just stupid. I am like a kid who's never, like an infant who's never had milk. I'm just a catechumen, a lowly catechumen who doesn't know anything yet. I can't even say I know a fraction of the faith yet. I have such a very long way to go before I can even call myself an Orthodox Christian. You have to be hungry. You have to, it's not something you're going to come out and just say, well, hey, I did my 13th prayer today and all this. It's something that it's very personal. It's very private. And this is the only, probably one of the very few times I'll speak about this. And it's something that you just don't share with the world. It's something very personal. I don't know how else to describe this, but it's definitely not a Hallmark card or something you can commercialize, box up and repackage. It's not any of that stuff. It's just you constantly looking forward to denying yourself constantly and learning that you're going to fall every day and that you're a sinner every day, and just acknowledge it. This is very humbling. I'll just say that. Yeah.
I agree. Which, I think it's like a no-brainer, but going back to what you had said, which is also leading into the next question, what figures do you look up to, religious and non-religious?
I'll say I look up to St. Moses. St. Moses the Black. That guy was gangster. First of all, he literally was gangster. He's just like, his story is great. I know this is gonna sound corny and repetitive as hell, but I do look up to Andrew Wilson as a brother, not as in like some role model or something like that. I look up to him as like a brother in a certain aspect of like debate, right? If I'm going to refine my craft, I need to compare it to a standard that's far greater than mine. This would be like anything else we would compare this to. And this isn't like worship, right? There are 2 different things, because you need to be able to compare your skill set and say, well, what would this be? How do I gauge how good I am? Right. So if I look at bodybuilding, I would look at the guy you mentioned before, Lee Priest. I would say, okay, I need to be able to gauge where I'm at right now. If I compare myself to the elite priest, I'm nowhere close to that. If I look at myself as debate bro, or somebody that does debate, I would say, okay, I'd use Andrew Wilson as a metric, not even close by comparison, by the way. He's like in the stratosphere. And I would look at this. So when you say look up to, I'd say I look up to Christ as a role model. But as far as peers with certain attributes and things that they're good at, I look up to them in certain categories. Categorically, I'll look up to them like as a debate person or as a bodybuilder or something else, because in order for us to strive towards something that's really great, we need to look at what's the pinnacle of this. But overall, I'd say Christ. In all aspects, I put that above anything else. Even I just mentioned stratosphere. This is like intergalactic dimension, like outside of our dimension. It's like, yeah.
No, completely understandable, dude. That's let me see, my bad. It shows strength through your faith, and being. My bad. Again, I have technical issues. My apologies for that.
No, you're good.
Gotcha, bro. No, dude, it's been like very interesting. The entire interview has been interesting, and you've told me a lot about yourself. Which I have a few more questions here, and we'll wrap it up.
But, I bet you weren't thinking I'm going to talk to a killer today. That's a literal.
Dude, your past is wild, and like leading up to today, and even like the backlash that you faced, you have like a very interesting story backing you, dude. It's crazy wild, bro. So I know you came in the orthodoxy space and the whole like dating sphere and everything is like pretty okay. It sounds weird. It sounds like it doesn't make sense, but you've been on X for a while, so you should already know. It's not very far off from the red pill. So what are your thoughts on the red pill, its current state? Has it changed from its inception? And if you've taken it, what introduced you to the red pill?
What I would say is, just like anything else, if you talk about the red pill, I would say at best it's like a data packet of descriptors that we would use. Not, I wouldn't say prescriptors. Rollo Tomassi calls this, I would say, a praxeology. So this is going to sound like I'm kind of deflecting a little bit, but for all of that, I would go to the source. I would go to Rollo Tomassi for all that, because the problem with this is if we get into like red pill, there was a kind of a schism that happened online, meaning like there's like this red pill community that feels like there's prescriptors with this. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't date a hoe. You shouldn't do this. And then there's red pill saying, no, these are cautionary things that we need to watch out for. It's not saying what you should do. And then there's another community that says, if I gave you fire, which is something not good or bad, you can either cook with this or burn a whole village down. It depends on what you can do with this. It's just a tool to help you out in dating. So you can kind of use it as like just a mindfulness tool, right? Yeah. So it just depends on who you talk to, because different communities that we talk about are red pills that are like, we would say different denominations of red pills. I will just say that. But for all other inquiries, questions, comments, and criticisms, I would literally tell everybody the best source you can go to is Rollo Tomassi for all this information, because I wouldn't do it justice. I'd tell you my opinion, but it's going to be very surface level. I'd say it's a data packet of descriptors. The bus is yellow. Yeah, we can see that, but people can't say this out loud because it's something it would piss people off, because it's just honest that you're saying that the bus is yellow, but that's the thing though. I'm just going to kind of gloss over this because I don't want to frame red pill in like a way that it isn't. Because they think about it. If I say red pill's one thing definitively, another community is going to say, "No, that's not what it is. You don't know what it is." And then another community is going to say, "Oh, he's right on point." So it's like I'll never get it right because that's not who I am, and it's not what I could speak about. There are other people who are spokespersons or the mainstay of who I would say has a more historical context of this, and I would divert to like Rollo Tomassi for all inquiries, comments, and criticism. That's the guy that you should go to, and I would follow him also. He has great advice. It's like one of those things where you could, if you see something good, you could take it from it. If there are things that you think that are bad, leave it. I'll just say that. So
Gotcha. So leading into or from there, what's your opinions on the dating market and how is it currently for you? Are you just looking for a lone path right now?
I'm I'm a walking red flag. I'll just tell you that right now. If the recent controversies weren't enough already, I'm a red flag even without that, Vale. Now, I'll tell you this, Val. The reason why I'm a walking red flag is because, for one, I'm into fitness, healthy lifestyle, and bodybuilding.
Mm.
Think about how many women I already delete off of the dating pool because now you can't just be overweight with me. And now you can't eat we can't eat all kinds of cakes and keep that around. Like, it's like I'm not even into sweets anyways. I'm not a sweets person. So that's a red flag. And then think about orthodoxy. I'm walking down this orthodox pathway to be baptized, and hopefully maybe during Pascha, when Pascha comes up. For all you Orthodox people, you know what I'm talking about. This is already going to be a red flag because now she can't go to the club because that's against my belief, and she can't be just getting slosh drunk because that's against my belief. Although I think drinking is fine, just being absolute shit-faced drunk isn't fine with me. And then doing psychedelics isn't fine with me too, because we start opening ourselves to like the legismi, things like this, in other spirits. So orthodoxy is a red flag. Bodybuilding is a red flag. My past, if that comes up, that's a red flag because, oh, you must be a DL guy. No, I'm not DL. It's just, this was sold to people and it's just stupid. So it's like, and then here's the other red flag. When we say red pill, I'm more aware of like the stats, information, the data. So it's like, there are things that I'm more cautious of. And when I hear certain things, like when a woman tells me, well, you're not emotionally available. No, it can sometimes mean, well, I can't emotionally control you. And that makes me feel uncomfortable. So it's like when you're aware of these things and you start realizing like when people speak a certain way, it means certain things to you because there's a pattern and you recognize patterns in dating. That's a red flag too, because now you know how to say no to people when you recognize these things and you don't let people walk all over you. So I'm a walking red flag for the most part. I think that if I do meet somebody, and they would have to get past the debates. That's intimidating too. I'm doing like a debate later on today against three guys who disagree with me. And I love going to war in the trenches against these guys. And then Thursday, I'm doing a debate saying that corn stars can be saved against everybody. It's literally titled Me Versus Everybody. So I'm doing these debates, which can look confrontational to women. That's another red flag. So it's like, how many red flags is this factory making already? So, but I will say this: if there was a very based woman, unicorn, by the way, a very based woman who's orthodox and sees my heart and is willing to be patient and understanding and look past all these red flags and understand that this is just discipline that I've taken as a world-class athlete. By the way, I turned pro in Super League too, which was another sport, which Nike endorsed and contracted all this other stuff. So if you think about this discipline that I've had from pro athletics, dieting, to debates, to me looking at philosophy, everything else, like that's just going to make her look better because now she has somebody that can defend her even more, because there's physicality. There's also logic. I'm using all this to protect my lady, right? And defend her. I would look at this if I was a woman looking at me as a bonus. Like, he's not going to use that against me. These are just things to help me out because if he's healthy, he's going to be my personal trainer. He's going to get me on track. He's going to keep me on track. I'm not going to force you to do these things, but I'm going to say, hey, let's go hiking. Hey, let's do this activity. I don't judge people, but and with debates, I'm going to also argue for why this person's scamming you out of a $5,000 used car when I can argue them down to $3,000 now. It's like debate can help you out in your favor. And then also with the religious thing too, this is also telling you what is in your favor. I'm not going to go back to that industry because this is against it. I'm not going to go do certain things because this is for your favor. And not to mention this, I have to be more Christ-like, which is a man that you want, a good man that's not going to cheat, lie, steal, or do any of this stuff. It's like, but these green flags that I see, they're going to see as red flags if they're not the one.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay. So you have very figured out when it comes to the dating pool and the dating market. So we got two more questions, but I got a bonus one because you really caught me off guard with the logisme, dude. What is a logisme?
The logisme is like that. Matter of fact, it's like a space. I don't want to word it wrong real quick, but let me, because I really want to be accurate about this. Hold on real quick. Like I know what it is, but I don't want to mess this up. Like
Gotcha.
we can sometimes open ourselves to be susceptible to like spirits, like demons, things like this. The logisme is like this space. And if you open this up, you're more susceptible, more easily influenced. That's what that is. If I'm being definitionally accurate or adjacent to this, somebody please correct me later. I'm wrong about this. But
Put in the chat.
Yeah, this is why we don't look at this is why we don't use psychedelics. This is why we don't. You're not going to hear about Orthodox people or people that are of our faith talking about machine elves and because who is that we're talking to? Do we absolutely know the spirit that's talking to us? Can we definitively know that that's of God that's talking? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, think about how receptive you are to this and how open you are to these things. How do you know that's of Christ that's talking to you? Or how do you know that this is good or bad? Why even open yourself up to this? Matter of fact, if you're going to open yourself up to anything, go to Divine Liturgy and experience this. This is a very spiritual, emotional journey. Do that. Yeah, that's at least you know what you're going into. Then we have clergy that can guide you through the whole process. That's very wise. You shouldn't be a god or clergy into yourself and guide yourself through this little thing where you're meditating and it's like that's just self-destruction written all over it.
Yeah, Martae, I agree with that. Like, for instance, I think it's interesting how people can be scared of like the Annabelle doll, right? But it's like you're not scared of God, but you're really terrified of this little Raggedy Ann doll. Okay, so the last two questions I got for you. Are there any beliefs you get backlash for? Are any you feel you haven't been able to explain publicly or openly? If so, what are they, if you don't mind?
I have a lot of pushback against the Black culture. I don't like it. I hate it. It's bad. I think that we should denounce it. And when I say Black culture, I mean like 2025 right now. Currently, we just had we're seeing it right now. And when I say Black culture, there's overlap that happens. And the overlap I'll give you is there was a woman who came here to flee murderous activities from her country, sat on a subway, and this Black individual came and just deleted her right away. Then they're making excuses, saying, well, he was mentally ill. It was nothing, like it was a sickness or a cough. When if this would have happened the other way, they would have burned the whole damn city down. They would have done a memorial there. This would have been like led to legislation changes. But this time it's like, mental health crisis. This is stupid. It makes no sense to it's infuriating. Like it infuriates me so much. But also I post a lot of content that's anti-Black culture because there's double standards that happen in this community. And I'm against this all the time. I think that if we want equality, we should fight this using logic, using consistent, fair from rhetoric, doing this. But I create a lot of videos and that pisses a lot of people off in spaces that I'm in, and they're mad. Oh, you just hate Black women. And no, I don't hate that. It's just the problem when they say that you can't wear braids because you're white, even though Vikings wore them. People from Germanic culture, Celtic culture wore this. Asians wore this. Indians Native Americans as a spiritual practice, representing three strands for the mind, body, and spirit, have wore braids for centuries. But now it's like, this doesn't make sense when you see Shaniqua wear straight hair that literally came from a white person, but critiquing a white person for wearing things like this. I call people out on this all the time. My content does this. All I do is magnify and expose. The same thing I do in debates. I magnify this that I don't like in culture and expose this. If we keep reaffirming this, meaning if somebody goes to a hospital and says, oh, I'm sick, I have tuberculosis, and the doctor says, okay, I'm just going to reaffirm this. You're just having, you're a patient with this. You can have this, and we're just going to keep it. This doesn't fix anything. So we reaffirm this, and we don't address this and expose this and just point out the double standard and the contradictions. things will never change, but I'm constantly getting backlash. Even if it seems like, oh, you must hate black people. No, I don't hate this, and I don't despise the person. I just don't like the double standard and the contradiction, because we have this idea in culture that there's this thing called white guilt. It's a psyop. It doesn't exist. It's the dumbest thing ever. You mean to tell me people right now that never owned slaves, never were alive to interfere or stop any of this from happening, are going to be demonized and persecuted for things that they were like generations removed from? Like, this doesn't make any sense. This is black culture I'm hinting to, and how societally this affects everybody at large with double standards, because somebody's not, like, if you see somebody shoot up a school or do anything like this, whenever it's somebody, white, they'll say, oh, they demonize the hell out, oh, those white people. But as soon as somebody of color does this, they switch to mental illness. Oh, they were just having a bad day, because this is literally what they're making it sound like. They just had a bad day, and we just need to get past this. Yeah. So these are the things that I get pushed back against most, when really it's just common sense, and it's infuriating. It's like, people don't say this, but I'll say it out loud. I'm not above, correcting and exposing and magnifying any of this.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because his name was DeCarlos Brown, was a repeat offender multiple times. I think they said up to 18 times, I believe. I could be wrong, but it was multiple times. It's very sad that the girl.
No shock.
Exactly. I believe her name was Irena. Sadly, they passed away from this guy. Oh, there's some feedback. Some really bad feedback.
I will say this, and this is kind of like poking the bear, but I want to say good afternoon to all my beautiful white women out there. So.
Oh no, dude! Hey, bro, we celebrate the beautiful snow bunnies.
Yes, I am the winter soldier. Snow bunnies should be celebrated for sure. I mean, if I'm not Uncle Tom enough, we already have somebody named Uncle Tom. I might as well just own the whole caricature right now online and just say, hey, I'm supporting snow bunnies. Let's keep it going. I think, and here's the thing that's going to sound very controversial. I'm probably going to get hate for this. I think there should be a moratorium on dating black women right now. The reason why I say this is because this culture is too masculine. The emasculation of men happens overwhelmingly in this culture. They're deleting our babies at such a high rate at 14%, but you're monopolizing all this baby deletion at such a high rate. No, there should be a moratorium. We should step back and then say, we'll come back when there's some gratitude and we're missed, and you're not going to abuse the privileges of dating. This is just ridiculous to me. So yeah, I don't care how much hate I get for this. How am I wrong? And why would this not be a solution? I think that whenever you have something that's bad, you penalize it by taking breaks from it, right? You don't reward it and incentivize it. So yeah, that's my rational reasoning for why we should have a moratorium on dating black women. So
that is a pretty controversial opinion. Okay, so the last question I got for you is, would you care explaining the blind pill? I've heard this come up from you before, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it.
All right, the last time I'm going to say this, it was a thought experiment that I came out with, but granted, when I came out with this, I wasn't going to tell somebody it was a thought experiment because it ruins everything. If I told you I have a surprise, it kind of ruins everything, and you're not going to get the genuine, authentic reaction from this. I was at home one day and I thought to myself, if women are turning us down and telling us that we have no standards, we're not allowed to have standards, how would they feel if I dated somebody who was more disadvantaged than they were? Surely their minds wouldn't change and their hearts wouldn't change. Guess what? Nothing changed. When I told them that I would date somebody who was further away from the culture from putting OF pictures up, because blind women, they don't go online and see OF pictures. There's less blind corn stars. Matter of fact, I don't think there is any corn stars, right? Blind people are less receptive to, I would say, propaganda as much as people who see things all the time. They're harder to propagandize. Granted, somebody that's in the blind community can be propagandized because there's word of mouth. That's very powerful. But as much as somebody who can be, I grew up underneath the deaf mom, remember? So I grew up in different disadvantaged and disabled communities, blind people, deaf people all the time. There's plenty of blind women, right? I'm blind in my left eye. I can't see anything because I had toxoplasmosis. That's a whole long story in itself. So because I'm legally blind and I can only see out of my right eye, and you can't tell just from looking at me, I can kind of sympathize a little bit, you know. So who is to say that these women can't, you know, find good, honorable, virtuous suitors? This is what I told the women, by the way, Val. I said, these women, you know, I'm opening up my dating market to these women, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down to a school, and so I started talking about this as my thought experiment and said, hey, I went on this site. This woman's very beautiful. She's talking to me, and, you know, we're talking. And guess what happened, Val? These women were demonizing me. You know, why are you doing that? Well, that's so beneath you. You should find somebody else. Not only was I dragged through the mud lightly, it was like a light dragging. It wasn't really that bad, but I was demonized for having an opinion and having preferences and options. And it's like, that just tells you a whole lot. So even if you're finding women who are of virtue, of good quality, and who are less of this world, less likely to participate in OF culture, and you're citing these reasons why, and then wouldn't you be more of a hero, more virtuous for finding somebody who was disadvantaged and then taking them and being that person who can create a nuclear family with this person? Nope. I was demonized by these women, and it just exposed all of this. I went on The Rational Male and talked to Rollo Tomasi about this, and guess what? No pushback. The person who's the red pill guy never gave me pushback of this and said that makes sense. Of course it makes sense. But this is what dating culture has delved into, is shame and the other way of virtue. So when you are looking for virtue, you're shamed about this. Matter of fact, if you're a guy who doesn't have sex and run through women, you're called what? An incel. Sheer shame for not being hoed by women. So it's like this knife, they're trying to cut you both ways. You're shamed because you sleep around all the time when they're pissed at you. But it's like, when all of a sudden it's like you don't sleep around and you're maintaining some discipline, you're an incel. So it's like, it's the dumbest thing ever. So when you pick somebody else and you pick the more virtuous path by picking the blind pill, you're being shamed and drugged lightly through the mud, and this doesn't make sense. So that opened my eyes to that. That's all the blind pill was a thought experiment.
Gotcha, Martae. But I think you missed a big one there, bro. Like, instead of the blind pill, why don't we take the mute pill? Huh? Why don't we go with a mute?
Mute pill. The Helen Keller pill is like the next step. It's just like, but no, seriously, if you find a woman who's virtuous, who's of good value, and she can preserve some kind of conservative values, and she can like admire you enough to like follow your leadership and be steadfast, you are supposed to protect her from the world. You're supposed to be the knight that slays these dragons and stops things from haunting her dreams. You're this protective mechanism, this rock. You know, you want to be that for these women, but they become the rock themselves. And it's a hard thing in dating to do this when it's like, I want to be the rock in this relationship, but you're the boss babe. These two things, like, that's the thing though. A boss babe is never, and a masculine woman is never going to get a masculine man. It's hard. It's tough. Masculine men don't want masculine women. And I understand independence, but then there's hyper independence where you're like, I don't need a man. And to me, this culture is ridiculous. When you are going to have a son, are you going to teach him to be expendable and disposable? Like the same that you treat these other men? And didn't you want a father when he wasn't around? Wouldn't this make you want a dad around? So it's like these women that say, I don't need a man. It's like, no, you do need a man, because this economy's rough. It's like, it's hard to survive by yourself. We're meant to be together. We need each other, you know? And I do believe in the covenant of marriage. If you could take the state out from this would be beautiful. But yeah, I believe in all that. But it's dating's crazy right now. So
yeah, no, I agree. And I quickly brush on what you said, like the covenant of marriage, especially in Orthodoxy. It's like you're not allowed to like get divorced. You're not allowed to, because a quick tidbit about myself is my girlfriend is Orthodoxy. I'm Catholicism, and I like talking about that. You're not allowed to like actually get divorced in Orthodoxy, which is I do believe it's a very bonding religion. You're not just gonna be like, well, we're done here. But
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But
speaking of being MFD, yes,
100%, bro. But speaking of being done here, we got through all the questions, bro. I think it was a very interesting interview. I really appreciate having you on, Martae, and I wish you the best of luck with your next debates.
Yeah, I got a debate right after this versus three guys, and I think it's the dog faced something. It's it's called the Deliberating Dog Faced Dudes podcast, and it's me versus three guys who may be disagreeing against me saying that Christian ethics, morals don't come from Christian ethics. That's their belief. So, and then I have a me versus everybody. You remember that scene in The Matrix when Neo's fighting like 1,000 Agent Smiths?
Yes.
That's going down on the Raging Tomato. It's me versus everybody in the trenches on this whole corn issue. So I'll be doing that, and then I have maybe several debates. I do believe I'll be debating Destiny again too. So that's probably going to be happening on the Tomfoolery platform as well too. So yeah, stay tuned. You can find me on Instagram underneath _ Mighty Martae, and the real Mighty Mouse on, I think it's Mighty Martae on X _ the real Mighty Mouse on Instagram, and On the Edge on YouTube. That's my channel there.
Nice. Also, real quick, do you have a closing statement? I should have said that before, but do you have a closing statement for this interview?
Yes, I'll make a closing statement. Thank you for being gracious enough to let me up and speak and kind of like be a little bit more transparent and kind of let people dive deep into my life a little bit. I'm pretty sure some things were spoken about that people didn't know about me before, which I mean, the whole murder thing or attempted murder charge from the past, that's probably brand new to a lot of people. But here's one thing I'll say. Everybody should be given a pathway to redemption. To me, that's the number one thing above everything we talked about, whether or not it's the blind pill, whether or not it's the corn stuff, the bodybuilding, everything else. At the end of the day, your salvation should be put above everything else. I think that this is the most important journey of my life. If you ask me about anything else, whether it's debates, bodybuilding, or even my friendship with Andrew Wilson or anything else, the number one thing that's a takeaway is my own personal salvation. To me, I'd say go find a parish, go check it out. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, go today or go on a Sunday and find out. It's a beautiful thing. Expose yourself to it. Matter of fact, you said your girlfriend is Orthodox, right?
Yes.
That's very beautiful. Glory to God. Glory to God.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I do want to say, hella appreciate you coming up here, Martae. I really enjoyed the interview. Appreciate talking to you. And yeah, I wanted people to hear your side of the story and actually go through the backlash and not just be like, oh, look, here's his ass. But yeah, man, I wish you the best of luck. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck with your interviews and have the best luck with the rest of your day too, bro.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks, man.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, this is Val. I'm signing out, guys. Later.